Another heartfelt conversation is up the sleeve because I have somebody who really is nurturing people's lives. He is nurturing the environment. He's nurturing, positivity and what should I say, more warmth and love around us. So, welcome, Annu Grover.
Thank
You
you.
are the founder for a company, Nurturing Green and Zamia, and you will tell us more about it. But at the same time, I just want to say that we need a more greener world. We need a world which is spelling, what should I say, the good emotion, the good breath, something that really makes us the people who we are. So you're doing a fantastic job. I don't know how you started this journey. I have read about it and we have spoken a lot. But I know that entrepreneurship also happens when we take the first step.
Yeah.
And sometimes that step is intentional and sometimes that step is just thrown at us. What happened in your life and how? And do you want to introduce yourself and then come to that question?
Yeah, so I'm Anu. I run a company called Nurturing Green and now Zamia, which is part of Nurturing Green group only.
Yeah.
Our vision is to bring nature in every home across the world. So 196 countries में हर घर में जब पौधा होगा, then we'll shut the shops. Till then,
Wow.
we'll keep running it, and
That's a huge.
that's what we have kept our aim for. तो अभी इंडिया शुरू किया है, and then we'll keep going to all the countries. Maybe as I move out, maybe somebody else take this legacy, but
Wow.
Nurturing Green keeps running till the vision of doing that. हर घर में एक पौधा is not accomplished. We'll keep running it,
Wow.
even one plant at a time. So yeah, I started this way early. I think for me, the first act, or I'll say also the second act, came very early in my life. I'm blessed actually to figure out in my life very early what I want to do,
Wow,
and I've seen a
nice.
lot of people takes decades to figure out.
Their whole life like me.
Sometimes a lot of life to figure out. I have a lot of examples at my home, my sister, my brother, and I know when I go back, I mean, the hardest of the days I still feel good about because I know this is what I love, this is what I want to do. We have failed, I think, infinite times in the last 12 years. It has broken me into pieces. It's crushed because entrepreneurship is hard.
It is.
But I think, and it's not meant for any human to do it. Still, I think something inside is there which keeps you moving, and I think that's very important, which is what you need to love what you do. Otherwise, I think entrepreneurship is not everybody's tea. That's why. So coming back, yeah, I started Nurturing Green in 2009. I was a young 22-year-old young boy, straight coming out of Austria. I was studying there, and as I was talking, I gifted my mom a bouquet from a company here. And when I called her, it was the next day, and she said, "Beta, wo to fake diya." रखना था क्या? And that's where
रखना था क्या? That's
so,
nice.
it was summers only, similar time in Lucknow, and I realized what's a waste of money and emotions, and that's where the idea of gift a plant came in. That instead of gifting a bouquet on a Mother's Day or on a Valentine's Day, how about you gift a plant, right? And that's what the yo moment sort of stayed with me. I came back and started Nurturing Green at 23.
Nice.
And I've been doing this now for almost 12, 13th year is this. A long journey. We've been bootstrapped very early on. And this was a very weird idea for a lot of people. For my father, saying, "Kya पौधे बेच रहा है?" You know.
Weird idea for a lot of people. My father.
And my girlfriend, who is my wife.
And the girlfriend. Very nice.
So, but people said, क्या कर रहा है? You better go back to Austria, or you go and join the dad's business. Who sells plants, like nursery पे सड़क पे दिखते हैं.
सही बात है.
And you hardly make 30,000-40,000 a month, and such a poor life. People look down to you. It's not something हमारे status, हमारी society में उसे मालियों को अच्छा नहीं माना जाता है. So I'm a modern Mali, I'm an online Mali, and today I'm proud to talk about it. I think Vyani ji is a modern grocery man, तो किराने वाले हैं, तो but he's a billionaire, तो क्या? So and same is for Jeff Bezos, वो भी online किताबें बेचते थे, तो किताबें बेच रहे हैं, तो bookstore था. So I think every small idea starts with that same thought only. the vision to bring that is what's more powerful. And if somebody believes in that, so for me, that goal was very clear that can we bring nature in every home across the world?
Wow.
And that sort of kept me moving across. And here I am with Nurturing Green. We are today a full stack. We are a one-stop shop for all your gardening needs. तो चाहे plants हैं, चाहे planters हैं, or if you want to get into gardening, or if you want to have nature indoors, in your office, at homes, we're there in all the channels you can buy from.
Very nice. Impressive story. At the same time, I want to ask you, when you started at 23, and you also spoke about many people in your life telling you, go back, do a corporate job, get more stable in life. What kept you going?
So I think it's easy for me to talk about it today,
Yeah.
and it's always easy to connect the dot backwards. It's not front. At that time, at 23, when people used to tell me whys every day of my life for many months, you start believing that they're probably true, and especially when your loved ones talk about it, or people you believe in, your mentors or stuff, when they talk about the same things, you start to believe, saying you सही कह रहे हैं, सही में पेड़ बेच के कुछ नहीं होगा, सही में ये nursery है बहुत, it's a down, great job. And this is the question asked to me a lot of times, that what kept me going, because I have given up a lot of times. I think 2011 Jan, I took a ticket. I didn't take a ticket. I went to the station straight to Lucknow, raat ki 10 ki. I was crying whole night. I didn't take a ticket. I was just next to the washroom wala jo bed hota. I'm just sleeping there whole night. And I said, I've given up. I want to take up dance business, and I can't take it anymore. This is beyond my endurance levels. I reached at 7 o'clock on Lucknow on Lucknow station. I didn't go back home. I took a train back and came back to Delhi. Had I gone back that day,
It was
I would
not.
have. It was the end of my this life. My mom would have never let me go back, even to
Yeah.
take my clothes back. My dad would have sent the car and said, "Boss, सब वापस लाओ, क्योंकि जाएगा तो फिर सोचेगा कि वापस कर लेता हूँ." And then I believe that sometimes it's about destiny. Sometimes it's about your inner life. I think 10 o'clock I started, 11 to 3, 4 I was crying. 4 o'clock, the dawn starts coming in your life. You start thinking, you feel better because I was crying. I was talking to myself, what I'm doing. And then you believed in that vision again. And by 6 o'clock, you were like, okay, you're still a bit stronger. Your most vulnerable moments are gone. And at 7, I said, no, I don't want to go back. I want to do it probably one more try. I'm just 23. It's okay if it fails. I can have this again in my life. So I think there's something inside you, and that's the only thing which can push you to think otherwise. Otherwise, entrepreneurship is hard. And then now I believe in luck a bit. I was never a believer of destiny and luck, but I think what Shah Rukh Khan said in one of the movies, said किसी चीज को शिद्दत से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात तुम्हें उससे मिलाने में लग जाती है. And I now believe 100% in it, that if you're perseverant, if you believe in something and you do it with all your intentions, I think the world
Will bring it to you.
bring it to you. And
But that's not luck.
Yeah,
That's
so
not luck. That is your intention. That's your manifestation. That's your belief that I want to do it.
yeah. So what is luck actually? So I'm
Yeah,
reading
what
a
is
lot that what is luck? What is destiny? Right. So for me, luck is you spread your chances of probability at more places, and at some place it will click. Right? So and I imply a lot of this in work also, saying when we are doing certain. So if I take on projects, let's say, or a new project which has let's say a 50% probability of making it and 50 of not doing it, how do you increase the probability of wins? Is probably luck to me now. Right? So for me, I realized that at that time that when you keep doing so many things, some will work out. Right? So we did let's say home center tie up. I was trying to work with own stores भी खोल रहे थे, हम corporate भी कर रहे थे, and we were trying to do so many things to say कुछ तो चले, अगले महीने की 5,000 देने के लिए जो चाहिए वो तो आए. And when you do a lot of these things, I think some things sort of work out, some teaches you, some fails, and that's what I think helps you become a better entrepreneur. also in your life, I think.
Yeah, that's a great answer, and I think I also believe in it that everything might not work out, but a lot will probably. And what doesn't work out then turns into a higher
Yes.
level of understanding why it didn't work out
Yes.
many years later. Like you
Many
said,
years later.
I
Yes.
can connect the dots now, and we can go backward and see, okay, how did it really unfold for me, and what did I do right? But I think it was very courageous of you not to go back home, because most youngsters today, especially, don't have that tenacity of failure, of confidence, of saying, let me do it again.
Yes.
So you're also dealing with, of course, a lot of younger team members and a lot of
Yes.
people in your life whom you're mentoring. So what do you tell them, the learnings that have come from your life now?
So I come from a middle class family. Like I was never, we had never had ample money. We had good money, but we never had money of what everybody desired to. I think today when I look back, I think nobody gets there. You get a certain level of money and then you go to the next, and at some point you say money doesn't matter, right? But for me, I think it's very important is and today's generation is, I think your generation and a generation before was, I'll say, it's actually a slavery generation, because that
Yeah.
time you were not exposed to so much of information, right? Your confidence and knowledge level at that time was not there. So even your manager will say something to you, you will not quit the job. जैसे नहीं यार मुझे अपने घर में everybody, my father struggled really hard because he had to put food on the table for us.
Yes.
And he'll do anything and everything in world and bear any intolerance also, because he knew the next day I need to put food again. Right? For my generation and I'll say the millennials, they were born into the age where there was lot of information around. हमें बेसिक्स की ज़रूरत एटलीस्ट सॉर्ट हो गया था, रोटी कपड़ा मकान था घर में, तो घर में नेक्स्ट डे फूड कहाँ से आएगा इसकी चिंता नहीं थी. तो वी डिड ट्रैवल एंड वी सॉ द वर्ल्ड, and we did what we sort of a bit love about it. The new generation is the social generation, right? They just don't have information, but and उनको रोटी कपड़ा मकान हो गया. उन्होंने फॉरेन ट्रिप्स जब वो 5 साल के थे तब से करनी शुरू कर रही थी. They've seen the world. They're well educated. They're very confident. The only thing which I feel when I talk to them is what you said. The generation now, so they're not tenacious. They're very fickle minded. उनको आता सब कुछ है. They're exposed to every information.
Yeah.
They get to know everything, and they're much better on YouTube's and the social media than us.
So much technology.
Yes, they know ChatGPT more than us, how to use it much faster. So, but one thing which I've started realizing with them is, they need to go deeper into the subjects, right? So just to give you example, let's say one of the young guys, he's 22, joined us, very good college, and he wanted of course, so he was working with us in social media. The problem is they don't want to go deeper into a subject, right? And you don't get anything before you go deeper in anything in the life. Like it can be anything, right? For me, I've realized for entrepreneurship, there's no gold at the top of it. It's only when you dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper is when you find knowledge, wealth, happiness, everything. And so you have to go deeper, and this is one thing which they're not going.
Right.
And I keep teaching them that you need to start accepting failures. Inability to sort of accept failures is also one of the big reasons a lot of people quit very fast. And I think those are more bigger lessons which a life, people like us have to teach these guys.
Right.
Because that's only comes with experience, and after failing, only that happens. So if you've not failed, you don't get that. And our generation, jo Z generation hai, they don't want to fail, and they've practically at a lot of times they've not failed also, right? So they always had a great childhood. They always got what they wanted in life. They were also capable to do that. But now when they're seeing failures, so I see a lot of these young entrepreneurs in our industry when we are sort of investing in them, I check for these things. I don't check for anything else. Like, these are the things which matter. That how are they taking failures on? Right? Have they seen failures in their life or not? How they reacted to that failure? Were they composed or they gave up? Did they take the right decision? In that scenario, in that
Yeah.
moment of their life, or they panicked and they took bad decisions. And how that sort of response tells me that uh, are they need to be groomed, or are they ready for entrepreneurship or not. So
Yeah, thanks for that. And I also feel that this generation is so powerful because they're so aware, and they have, they've identified. They are so focused. They
yes,
they know that this is not what I will do.
true,
So I think, rather than saying this is what I'll do, I think more power comes when you know that what you won't get into
absolutely,
or what you will not dwell into. And so I think that is a generation. I learn from them every day, thanks to
me
my
too.
two grown up children. They have a lot to teach me every day. But at the same time, I feel that what you said is completely right. I think as mentors, it is our duty also to bring in our life experiences, as long as it doesn't sound like gyan.
Yeah, yeah. They hate GAN. They hate
They
GANs.
hate gyan. They will
You have
never
to talk
take
to in
gyan.
their language.
You have to be befriending them first.
Yes.
All right. So, since you work so closely with plants, and I'm not sure if you've answered this many times before, but what have your been some crucial learnings from plants?
So again, three, four of them, I think. The first I feel is about you need to be patient. So when you see a plant growing, so we do almost 3 or 4 million plants at any given point of time. And when we sow a small seedling, for example, an aglaonoma takes almost 18 to 20 months to be a point where it's ready to be sold. And I used to think इसमें क्या chemical डाल देते हैं, थोड़ा और तेज करेंगे, should I feed them more? And हम लोग जब जाते थे inspection पे every time to the setup, I'll see just one leaf came out of that, in the research. And then I went after 3 months. I said another one leaf, very small, it's coming. And I realized and learned that you need to be patient in life, right? You need to you just can't expect. So today, if I want 10 lakh pieces, I can't get it. You need to plan it 2 years back to get that.
Yes.
Right? So planning and being patient is something
Very
which sort of nature also taught me. One more thing which is sort of more personal to me, which I learned about, is to be more happy. So when I'm with nature, I realize a lot of our great moments in my family happens around nature. So चाहे वो सुबह की चाय है, or my time in the morning I spend with Nisa is always in our balconies. We have a bunk bed there, and there's a lot of nature and a lot of plants around.
So nice.
And every day, I think, so we have a small kitchen garden also there, and we're doing almost like, today we have 20-25 vegetables growing there, and every day we do the harvest and the sowing, and the amount of happiness I get doing that. So usually बोला था gardening, जब आप 50 पे जाते हो तब आती है life में. I think in my generation it's coming a bit early, and I know I'm sure as we go, to your kids, I think it will come much early. Because that's one thing when you start doing, you start to learning a lot of life skills also, which is about what is happiness, right? For me today, happiness is that 1 hour, 7 to 8 I spend with Nisa every day in the morning.
Of course.
I can not give for anything in the world, right? And then you learn, and that happens when there is nature around, right? When nature is around, it makes people happy, right? And this is one thing I'm really proud of, that I'm doing this in my life, because had I been selling, let's say, cigarettes or maybe a social media, Facebook, I was opening the next Facebook, I will probably not be as happy as I am today, because I'm also happy not from my own experience, but also when I look at people and families where our plant is and how it bonds them together.
So nice.
So I think that's something.
In fact, I remember many years ago, we had gone for a prayer meeting, and that prayer meeting was in a nursery. It was in a place where they just gave one sapling to everybody to say, this will be me, this will be the most that will mean for my mother.
Wow.
And when you come back every year, maybe you can have a look how, what you planted is growing.
Wow.
And I really
So
felt
powerful.
that has stayed with me. And I think every time now somebody passes away, I feel I wish they planted a few trees in the name, and that would see somebody growing and flourishing. And
Yes.
so I think that really was so nice
Yes.
that,
Yes.
and
I actually gave, so the first plant we made at Nurturing Green, I gave it to my mom. It's still with us, with her.
yeah.
So this is the 13th year of that bonsai.
Wow. So
And every anniversary now we celebrate. So I now know of when we started Nurturing Green,
So
actually, when she sends me that. So she has this good habit of remembering everybody's birthdays and everybody's
most
anniversaries.
women
And
do, by
most
the way.
women, I think most women, most moms, I'll say moms, not women.
Well,
But so whenever she sends me and I see that love and care, so it's a great bond between me and her because of that bonsai also. And so I wonder, had I given something else, maybe a nice sari or a gadget or anything, would just have gone. And this is growing. Now it's like if she comes to Delhi, that bonsai has to come with us because pani kaun dega. And so it's so important that plants are so
so nice.
important for
Yeah.
her. And I realize that's what bond does also. That's one of the ways of bonding between me and her also.
So lovely.
So I think that's also an important thing.
So, but plants are such an unorganized sector even today.
Yeah.
Though, of course, you can get access to a lot of online and all. But so 13 years ago when you started this was again something not very popular, very alien. So, what made you believe that this is where you want to be and not try newer things? And you stood by it, or did you try many other things as well in the middle and then came back to it?
I mean, I kept trying in this listen. I probably, am I ziddi? Am I dumb? I mean, there's a very thin line between, perseverance and foolishness. Uh, and if you fail in your life, people call it foolish. If you succeed, people call it perseverance. Uh, and to explain it to yourselves is the most difficult part. I mean, outsiders को तो आप फिर भी बताओगे, but sometimes when you ask yourself, is it foolishness or is it perseverance, you don't get the answers right a lot of times, especially when things are not working out in your career, in your entrepreneurship journey. And that happened to me a lot of times. I think 2015 we were bust. 2020, I had to sell and all the mutual funds and everything to just pay up for the salaries of my team members. And a lot of people told me foolish because saying you're almost spending 2.5-3 crores, which could have been your savior for next year because you don't know COVID is going on.
Right.
And said we need to save and I need to give to that Mali who I know will not be able to get food for his home next month. So if I have to give up the mutual funds or whatever the company has assets on, I need to do this because it's important. And it was I think in August when we were off with everything, like all the savings were gone because from April, May, June, July, it was all going on and there was no revenue coming in. And I had to take this call that do you want to let go now this to some people or everybody? Like you shut off Nurturing Green or you let at least some people go off and so that the rest can survive. I think that also was one of the biggest learnings in my life and a hard decision. Because that time after almost 2020 is 9 years, 10 years of our entrepreneurship, I was at a point where I said, boss, I had to shut it down. How is it possible? And I mean, we haven't even created that much of safety nets, but that all went, trickling down one by one because the revenue went up, the cost went, the revenue went zero, the cost remained same, and it actually went up at a lot of places because you have to support a lot of the team members and you have to pay for rentals which were going and stuff like that, and that was also a hard decision, so you never get to know. I mean, I can be very transparent on this. I can on the media. I sometimes talk about saying, no, I always knew, but I think nobody knows. And I have talked to a lot of these entrepreneurs. I keep doing a lot of these, talking to people who have uh, failed publicly, to people who have succeeded publicly, and both of them had the same answers,
Okay.
that you don't know. Nobody knows. At least inside, you don't know. It's only your gut that says. Data doesn't shows you anything. Probably it says to shut it down. It's your gut says to, probably your ziddipan, which is foolishness at times, because if you fail, it's foolishness. Today, in August, the decision had gone bad maybe, and we would have closed Nurturing Green. Probably our critics would have said, we told this will not work. People around me would have told, saying, 2011 से तुझे बोल रहा हूँ मैं, ये नहीं चलेगा. And if it works, and which it did, now that people are talking, saying, he was the right guy, he had something in his head to take the decision right. But I was always in double minds. I think I never, even after talking to a lot of these people, let's say, I remember very, very vividly in August, I was talking to some of the very famous people who have failed like publicly, and I was talking, saying, how does it felt, right? For you to take that decision where you knew that if you take that decision, you will be publicly frowned upon, or the media will take this up. I said, yeah, damn with media, it's on you, it's yourself. आपको पता था ये कि what you are taking is the right decision. I said, no. And I realized then if he doesn't know, and so many other people doesn't know, then probably I who am I, right? So I think you take sometimes your decisions from your heart, is what I have learned over the years.
Great, but when I'm hearing you, I also hear a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking up to entrepreneurs like you, where on one hand you've given a lot of years, and on the other hand also scaled up because you got a lot of funding. So the younger entrepreneurs forget the long work that they want to do, but they want quick funding. And
True.
if they don't get the quick funding, they already start feeling like a failure.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
why is funding becoming such a big deal? What is your thing about, funding,
Yes.
like, getting so much money, and then what?
Yeah. So it's anyways, it's a big debate across on the main PR, main media. But let's talk about, let's say, Vijay from Paytm, right? I mean, he's
Right.
well known.
Yes.
So I think if you go back to 18, 19, when demonetization, everything came out, and Paytm was on the rise, everybody said that he's a star, he's a rising star. Nobody was talking that this overnight success took 14 years for him, right? And then when the stock market, called it a bluff and said, Paytm is all lie, the stock market shares went from 22 listed to 500, 600, and people lost a lot of money, and people again said, that, and so many bad things on social about, again, Vijay. And I realized that two things out of it, that anything you're making in life, anything you're creating, it takes a lot of time. Give me any brand which you live in today's life, and I can prove it that it took more than 10, 15 years to make it success. None of them there's no such thing called overnight success.
But it seems like, to be honest. You hear stories of such 30
Like-
under 30, 20 under 20.
I have been into 30 under 30, now under 40 under 40. And I know it's all a sham. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it takes time, right? All of these 30 under 30s, let's say Oyo for that matter, right?
Yeah.
He's the poster boy for a lot of people.
By Ola, for
Like
that
Ola
matter.
for that matter. So
Yeah.
even for Ola, let's say, he's still proving it. And he's not a success yet. What is a success? Even in, let's say, in company's term, a success has to be when you are able to do the complete circle. So you create something and you make it meaningful for somebody. At the same time, you create wealth out of it. If you're not able to book profits at the end of the day, that's not business. That's charity, right? So then that's not. So if Baiju today is not able to complete that success, that circle, Ravindran has not yet succeeded. You know, he had succeeded in his earlier avatar when he did his own thing,
Right.
and he created so much of education for the people, and he was a great professor. But at Baiju, he's still to show that. And so I believe the great brands are Reliance, the Tatas, or PVR
They
for
have
that
a
matter.
legacy.
They have a legacy, and it took them that time of
50
time.
years,
So
yes.
so for Reliance, it was Dhirubhai who spent that 15 years of struggle, right? And it takes that amount of time. You don't create anything in 3 years. Nothing gets created. It takes time. Even if you see it from outside, because today's media want to glamorize funding because it gets them TRPs, and it's not their problem. I mean, it's not their. They're not into that moral discussion. They have to pay the bills, and they need to get that clicks to get the advertisers to get money on their platform, and that's why these news that 23-year-old raised 30 million, and he
Yeah.
bought a
The Shark Tank
Bugatti.
is getting a lot of them
Yes.
popular by now.
Yes, yes,
So I
yes.
have to say, are you on
Yeah.
Shark? Did you go on Shark Tank?
No, I didn't.
Do
But
you
I know
want to
all of
go?
them.
Do you want to go on Shark Tank?
I just on the other side. Which side of it depends. But yes, why not?
On
Let's
either of
understand.
the sides.
Either of the sides. Always good to be questioned and good to talk to people around. So definitely yes. Why not?
But now, do you support small businesses? Do you
100%.
support? Are you doing
Yes.
angel investing?
A lot of it.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Lot of it. For me, so I think over the years, your definition, your relationship with money and your relationship with yourself changes. I think I've aged a bit early in my life because of entrepreneurship. So what I saw in 10 years of mine,
This is very discouraging for people who want to get on this side, but it's okay.
but that's okay. I think when you spend that 10 years of entrepreneurship, you get more wiser. You want to learn more,
Yes.
and so there's a saying that when you just graduate, you do your MBA, you think that you know everything. It's when you do your PhD, you start to know that I know very little. And when you go beyond that, you realize that you know nothing in this world.
So true.
And I am in that phase in my life where I'm learning that I don't know anything in life. I need to
That's-
learn so much more
I
about
think that's
everything.
where your learning curve starts.
Yes, that's where you actually start to
That's
learn.
where your second act starts.
That's your second act starts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
That's where.
so yeah, I'm very. So we decided how do we do it. So in our farm, we wanted to help all the. So one was that I want to really do something about education. Because I realized that's where any economy or any society or any empire sort of goes up if you educate the people around.
So true.
So that was one thing. So we did something at our farm. We have almost 120, 30 such people, and their kids were. I knew that they will live the same life 20 years from now if we don't educate them today.
Right.
So we thought let's sponsor those.
Right.
But then I realized that is that the impact? I mean, I was feeling good. Shivani was feeling good. We started sponsoring the education. We used to go. I used to take care of the health of these guys.
Nice.
But thus, I realized is that the impact I really want to create? But that's the 100 people I will sort of do better. And then I started thinking, where is the impact? What is my time and my learnings can bring in? So can we change, let's say, 1 million lives? And I realized that can only be done through entrepreneurship. And
Sure.
that's where I went into said, okay, let's start investing or mentoring young startups where I know in my category how I can help them distribution with finance and scale them up. So if let's say if we can have 100 entrepreneurs who employs let's say 1,000 each, we can have let's say 1 lakh people being employed, and they can
Yeah,
then
why not?
spend money on their kids' education. So that's where now my focus is, that I really want to invest whatever little we earn. We have lost this charms of, I mean, my relationship with money has changed over the years from a time at 23 where I want to buy a Bugatti, or I had these inspirations written that at what stage I want to buy what,
And?
right from. And today I think for me this is the best watch. This dress is these types of 10 t-shirts and shirts I have. That's my wardrobe. My
Nice.
only thing I want is probably travel. That's where we spend a lot of our money. we still, I mean, I don't believe in buying homes. That's the worst investment you do. So for me, I think if I want to invest my money, I do more into either education or of my daughter, or in these travel experiences, I think, or investing in startups. So
Very nice.
so I think that's my way of giving back.
So cool. So, of course, this question is very pertinent to us in this podcast, saying, what's your second act? Which you, I think, have partially touched. But if in specific, if you want to talk about what is your second act, and there are different meanings of second acts that
Yeah.
come out. So, there's no fixed definition of it. It's a metaphor. You use
Yeah.
it as
Yeah.
it's bringing the meaning to you.
Sure. So, it's a lot of time when I think about this, and before this also when you were asking, I think for every individual it's a different way of what's a second act. For you, probably it was when you did your professional life and you said, "मैं क्या कर रही हूँ life में," right? And you started figuring out what's your next 15, 20, 30 years of your life will go in, and will that give you happiness or not? Uh, for me, a second act actually was a lot of times. For example, the incident when I was in that train, you know, I wonder was that a second act in my life? Because had I gone back home, uh, I would have been something else in my life today.
Wow.
Right? I would not have been sitting here, or
Absolutely.
not would have been as a human being who I am today. So is that a second act in thing? So whatever changes you as a human being, uh, and makes you think of doing something else in your life, I think that's where the second act sort of comes in for you. And it's not necessary that you do 10 different jobs or professions, or you try 10 different things in life. For me, I have now realized that I want to dedicate my life towards nature and stuff, and there's so much to be done, right?
Yeah.
Food is also nature. That's a $1 trillion industries. So how can I
Yeah.
use my
Very
learnings
nice.
today
Yes.
to sort of keep changing those lives? But yes, every time there's a new learning or a new incident which happens. So be it COVID, right? So probably that was my second act again.
Yeah.
We were almost on the verge. I was personally, because a lot of times the company goes down when its foundation goes down, right? So for me, that time, if I had given up as a founder, and
Yeah.
we would have not been here probably, right? So Nurturing Green would have shut down, and there were a lot of businesses which shut down.
Yeah.
So was that a second act for me?
Wow.
So yeah, so that's how I feel that whenever these are life-changing incidents which happens in my life, small or big, I think that's all second acts in your life. So um, I'm really blessed to. Uh, I mean, I learned this very early in my life, and I'm really blessed to, because I see my wife, my brother, a lot of people around who's still figuring it out. What is their second life like? No, my wife just quit last year the job, and she has been a professional throughout her life. She comes from a family of means, but she still comes from a family of working class. They've never taken risk in their life. His father was they've always been working. He was heading at Vardhaman. He was the CEO there. But then he has always worked for 40, 45 years of his life. And she has seen that in
Yeah.
her life always, that, every first को salary आता है और ऐसे ही चलती है life. She's never taken risk. And she said, नौकरी छोड़ेंगे तो yeah.
Very
I
me. I
think
can hear me.
the biggest struggle, I think, for her, and the biggest, the chains which has always locked her mind was that first ka the message of the salary which used to come, because that used to unlock her thinking. अब अगले 30 days I will again trade my time against this meager value.
Yeah.
And once you get out of that is when you actually start realizing who am I as a person, what is my second act. And I think for everybody it's different. My brother, for 14 years we've been talking, and he wanted to do something, and he said, "यार, मुझसे नौकरी नहीं करनी मुझे life में, मुझे नौकरी नहीं करनी life." And he's doing it because because of the EMIs in our life.
course.
Everybody has to manage the family, take care of the lunches, and but when you unshackle that from your mind, I think that's where your second act actually starts.
I think you've answered it very beautifully. Normally, I don't get such a what I want to hear kind of an answer. Let's put it this way. I really want to hear this when somebody says there are so many various second acts that have come out in my life, and every time there's a life-changing moment, and I think that defines how I am as a person, and that brings my second act. It's so beautiful, and that empowers me as well. And I feel that yes, we restrict ourselves, our growth, when we just put ourselves in a box, and all we need to do is sometimes just push the box a little bit wider, a little bit open, a little bit like, can I get out of it?
Yes.
And then life happens.
Yes.
Right?
True.
And I think that's really beautiful. So thank you for answering that for me. You spoke about your wife quitting, and this is another thing I want to ask you. I went through a lot when I quit, despite being in a very successful corporate career. From a man point of view, what do you understand when women come out of their comfort zone, and how can you think men support that?
I'm really sad that I'm born in the society where, anyways, these differentiations are sort of made, and I'm actually happy that by the time my daughter grows, there's no such conversations happening.
Yeah.
Probably it's a reverse saying,
Yes.
you have reverse between a man and woman probably at that time
Yeah,
when
you
you'll be
never know.
interviewing, and I'm sure that will happen. But having said that, I mean, when I come from a middle class, हमारे यहाँ होता था कि dad will run the outside chaos and he'll bring money to the
Yeah,
family,
yeah.
and my mom will take
Will-
care of the home.
The inside chaos.
The inside chaos, and
Always.
and that was never appreciated. I don't know
Which
why.
is always
yeah.
harder, but which is
100%,
true.
right?
Yeah,
So
it's
being a
always harder.
homemaker is
Handling
definitely-
emotions of everybody, including
and,
yourself.
and not able to get out to anybody.
Yeah.
I think hats off of how my mom has done it for the years. She has bonded our family together, kept her emotions, her desires, maybe her aspirations of, it's very later that I learned that she wanted to be an entrepreneur, and she never did it because, she had to take care of us, and father would not have agreed to that.
He's the man.
He's the man, and
He
औरतें काम नहीं
decides.
करती हैं, and all that nonsense. But of course, when it came to our generation, and when I saw with Shivani, I mean, Shivani had she was my girlfriend before when I was starting up, and then my wife. So I have a very very strong relationship.
She's still your girlfriend.
She's still
A girl and a friend.
and a girl and a friend, absolutely. We've been married for so many years. So I think everybody goes through some stages in their
Of course.
relationships, but we're always exploring. She's still the pillar which bonds me, my family. I think I exist, or Nurturing Green exists because of her. Had she not given
Shivani, hear this. It's on camera.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of incidences. So I've talked about in business world, and a lot of channels where, so in 2014, just after our marriage, it was Feb 2014, and we had cash flow issues because I sponsored my own marriage, and I was not November we got married. I was not very much in that time into business, and we had a hard time paying the salaries. And I remember I took her jewelry. So 10th of Feb, when I had to pay the salaries, and I had short of 10 lakhs, I took her jewelry. I mean, this was one of the hardest thing for a man on the first of anniversary. Usually a woman expects jewelry, and I was asking, saying, I need your jewelry because I need to pay the salaries. And except, I think, Mangalsut, not even a blink, and he said, this doesn't even matter. And I think a lot of such small relationships which we had, which, I lived with her in 2011 when I came back from Austria, and I didn't have money. So I did a live-in. People said it's so cool. यार Austria से होके आया तो live-in कर रहा है in our society. But then I knew why I shifted, and I didn't have money to pay for the rent at that time. I want to save that for giving salaries. So she has been the pillar, and for us, I think that bond has been very, very strong for the years. Her relationship with money, and I was talking earlier, and for every, I think, Indian female, and I'm really pointing this, is so poor, and I'm so sad about it. We recently in our office, actually, I have in our R&R, we have started an hour every alternate, where I'm talking personally about finance
Very
to
nice.
the they don't we don't I mean, in Indian culture, in our education system also, our relationship with money is very
It's a
poor.
taboo.
Yeah, it's a taboo, we don't talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
I still don't know what's my father-in-law salary.
Yeah.
And I keep telling him, saying, why you? Is it because of you? Why both your kids are like this? They need to be intimate. They have to be talked about. Why taking a debt in a business is a taboo? Businesses उसी से बढ़ सकते हैं. You either put equity or thing. पैसे के बारे में बात करना मतलब गंदी बात होती है, और आप जिंदगी में सबसे ज़्यादा स्ट्रगल
पैसे के
पैसे के अराउंड ही करते हो,
सही बात.
राइट? या ना होना या ज़्यादा होने की वजह से ही सारी लड़ाइयाँ होती हैं. एंड ऑल योर लाइफ, एवरीथिंग इन योर लाइफ रोटेट्स अराउंड
true.
मनी, एंड स्टिल वी डोंट टॉक अबाउट इट. वी डोंट नो कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल क्या है, हाउ इज़ मनी ग्रोइंग, डी ग्रोइंग इन योर
Yeah.
लाइफ,
So
उसको करना क्या है उस पैसे का. लाइक हमारे यहाँ क्या है कि अच्छा, जो भी पैसा आता है वो तुम देख लो. और इट्स अ अनसेड नॉर्म, आई थिंक, इन मेनी फैमिलीज, कि दोनों दोनों कमाते हैं, बट पैसे का मैनेजमेंट जो है वो मेल करता है.
Of course.
Why of
Of
course?
course.
Why of course is
No,
my
no, of
question.
course करता है.
But नहीं करना चाहिए.
हाँ, उसकी
And I'm so sad about it, saying ऐसा क्यों होता है? And I'm 100% sure I'll not let my kid go into that same way how Shivani thinks. नहीं नहीं, तुम ही कर लो. है, क्यों मैं करूँ? It's your duty and it's your money, and you, of course, all that paperwork is there, but you need to understand.
Yeah.
Someday I'm not there, or someday you have to take your life decisions, or we don't agree on money, on how to spend that money. You need to know how to manage that. And that's one thing which has been, I think, our fighting points a lot of times. But yes, I mean, we're learning, and she's learning now.
I'm learning now.
Yeah. See,
I'm
so I
learning
think
now.
I think that's where we all as generation has to learn about. But her relationship with money is very poor, and she quit last year because she needed to figure out and get her second act. She's been working like anything for, because she was with Paytm, and Paytm Rise saw a lot of internal people putting a lot of blood and sweat, and she was the first few employees when Paytm started. So she joined 197 and then came to Paytm, and then very recently last year, she was heading HR at Paytm Banks, and then she was too burnt out and she needed to figure out what's her second act, or what she really wanted to do in her life. And at that time, I think the relationship with money, because it was so poor for her, she didn't know how much her savings was. She didn't know how much emergency fund she has. She didn't know if she wants to travel, how much money she can take out. She didn't know how much my money will be next year, because she didn't know what's a stock market returns are for the year. She didn't know where should I put my money in. Is it mutual funds versus FD, versus is FD a bad thing? She said, नहीं नहीं, पापा तो कहते हैं FD अच्छी है. And I said, your FD is not even giving you a cost of your inflation, right? So your money
3%.
is, your money at 3-4% versus 8%, 7% inflation, your money is actually net
Degrading,
degrowing
yeah.
every year on year. So if you have a crore, next year it's less, and by the 10th year you know how much it will be. Because मुझे maths नहीं आती है. I realize you need to learn all of this.
We are not limiting beliefs, women.
Yes, 100%. So anybody who wants to do this, I'm happy to take sessions on this. And then Ankur does it. Ankur Variko does a lot around finance, and especially talks about this subject. And there's so much content on this available online. Again, somebody who has its inner thing. I think today everybody can learn. There's so much on YouTube's and
Yes.
internet, on everything.
Yeah.
And so with money, I think our relationship and it's always awkward, right? So I remember on the other side, when I used to take money from her, she used to put it in the pocket. And I used to say, किसने डाला? वो कहती पता नहीं किसने डाला, देखो तुम भूल गए, तुम्हारे किसने दिया होगा.
Sweet.
Because she knew that I can't take money, and she knew I can't ask money. And now, after so many years, I have learned that it's the same thing for her because she never asked money from me. She was blessed to have her own life and from her parents. It's only recently I have actually learned about her that she is also like that 25-year-old young boy who is arrogant, saying, "पैसे कैसे लूँगा पापा से या girlfriend कैसे coffee का bill pay करेगी?" I think she is also on that side, and we're still learning that thing. It's my duty to make things more comfortable, but yeah, we're still learning.
ये मैंने बहुत recently सीखा है that in order to give, you must have a lot. And when you have a lot, only then you can give. So this thing of giving, women giving all the time, I think we need to learn how to receive.
Yes.
So once we have a lot,
Yes.
we will be able to give a lot.
Yes.
But we keep giving and then we are draining ourselves out.
Yes. And it's a taboo, I think. I think women in India feel एक hitch है, एक अंदर वो है कि मैं लूँगी तो like my mom, I wonder, she's a Wonder Woman. उनको अच्छी साड़ी दो, नहीं मेरे पास है, अरे क्यों पैसे खर्च कर रहे हो? And like she needs to receive because probably in it's our culture, that's how it is. We are wired as human beings, especially in our societies. It's changing, of course. Every society goes through that cultural shift. But I think yes, that's still there. That women don't want to receive. They just want to give, and they need to learn to. Because उसको हम बोलते हैं foolishness, and I say was yes, be foolish. Like I tell my wife that you need to be foolish. She say तुम बहुत selfish हो. I don't want nicer to that. I said boss, everybody has to be selfish. If you're not selfish about your body, then if you're not eating well or if you're not taking care of your body, then you say it's selfish. Yes, you are. You have to be selfish about it. Right? Or if you want to give in your relationship, you also have to be selfish from other stuff because then only you can give back on
and also
any
protect
relationship.
yourself.
And protect yourself.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think creating your own boundaries is so important for your own growth. I mean, this is where nobody can come enter.
Yeah.
Because I don't allow it. Because the minute that you open up and you receive everything, you're so burdened.
Yes.
And
True.
I think you're so right, and I so totally believe in it. So thank you really for this podcast, and I really want to tell you that you have shared a lot of your own life, and it's beautiful. And that's all I can say. So keep nurturing. I want to wrap up this with a quick few questions, which could be like more about knowing you better. So
Okay.
let's see if you can do this rapid fire quickly.
Okay.
So one person who motivates you. Your dad.
Lot of them.
Your dad who's just always been.
No, I'll not say he's.
No, I was just.
But I've learned about a lot. I mean, so he has taught me a lot about real business. He's taught me about unintentionally. He has taught me about. So it's with me. My relationship. I mean, it's not rapid now anymore. My relationship with my dad is that of Iklavya and that other guy. He never taught me anything directly, but I learned a lot from him, from his actions, how he used to manage business. हम गल्ले पे बैठते थे, how he was talking, so I used to copy him, saying how to talk to people, how to negotiate. He used to negotiate, so I've learned. He used to tell me कि गल्ले में जो पड़ा है, that's the money, right? And what's in the books is all dead. I said क्या बोल रहे हैं, वो भी तो हमारा ही पैसा है. And then when I did business and I did for 10 years, I realized it's only free cash flow what matters, right? So a lot of business principles he taught me, which I couldn't have learned about. So I think yes, he's the one guy, and I think for me now Twitter I think is one. I think if you can give it an identity, I think Twitter is one identity where I learn a lot, and the second is I think YouTube. I spend almost now 3 hours. I am getting addicted actually. I have to come out to learning. So I do almost 3 to 4 hours of reading every day, and like I can do 8 hours, 9 hours, and काम कौन करेगा और काम और चीजें भी करनी है. So we've been having that conversation that I was talking to Shivani last day. I want to quit because I want to read. I want to do so much of reading because now I know that I have
Yes.
not known anything. So there's so many things you
So
need to
many
learn. So
things.
for Twitter and I think YouTube are the people where
Very
I've learned a
nice.
lot.
Yeah. Very amazing. Yeah. I've gone back to reading after 25 years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine for 25 years I wasn't reading because my kids were growing
I
up,
know.
I had a full-time job and there was so
Job.
much.
Yeah. Life की भसड़
But
में
there
हम
is,
नहीं करते.
that's an excuse I think. That is an excuse.
True.
Why-
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
जिसको जो करना होता है वो
Yeah,
करना
हमने कर
चाहिए
ही
और कर ही लेता है.
अच्छा वो मुझे I was never a reader, never in my life. Like I was probably the last bencher, back bencher वाले जो होते हैं ना, वो पढ़ा रही है मैम नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. And I used to get knowledge, little things also, but never a reader. It's only COVID when I got free and I started reading. It got me sort of into like what I have not. I don't know about how fiat currency came out. I've got so curious now that anything which I think I'll Google and probably so. I read about stock markets, how they started in the world, how money came into existence, how gold was exchanged around, and what is the significance of money. I'm reading so much on money, and then YouTube and Twitter
Wow.
makes so when you start reading anything, you keep getting so much of content around it, so that you get get so much into it.
So nice. Okay, so one fun thing about you.
I think I've got too boring over the years.
Limiting belief है ये.
The fun thing about me is, so when I open up, so people who are, so with my daughter, I think the fun thing is I love to play with her, and I can, do a lot of, like I have a very serious avatar online, but offline, I think I'm a fun guy to play with. And
Nice. Okay. One thing that in your downtime, something that you remember and like change helps to change what you're thinking or your mindset.
uh,
Or you just let it be.
well, you don't give up, So I like to listen to those old songs where it talks about, like life chalti rehti hai, and it's okay. If there are good days, they will pass too, and if there are bad days, they will pass too. This shall pass. I think
So life
is a learning experience.
buksa.
I think for me, it's getting to a point where it's learnings of so many other people.
Money is.
Means to be financially free or to get your time free actually.
Yeah, that's powerful. And one thing that you want to leave us with. What are your thoughts?
Do your second act and
Yay, yes.
I think for me, I think be an entrepreneur. I think our India needs it, our world needs it, our society needs it. So yeah, if you love what you do and
Yeah.
if you want to do something in your life which you think you can change in our society, I think do it. So don't wait for the time to come. This is the time. India is at a best place, and you are at the right place in your life. Just do it.
So thank you for this very lovely, very heartfelt, very authentic conversation. You didn't mince any words, I can feel it. You were very open about discussing how things around home are, relationships, how they play an important role in shaping us and sometimes restricting us from who we are, and how we can let people be and, like let them explore their own world and stand by their side to handhold them, to mentor them, and not to teach them. I think that is a big learning of, at least what I heard, was like when you try to teach somebody, try to tell somebody constantly, you're doing the wrong thing, you can't be doing this, you're going to fail, it's something else. And when people are actually wanting your help or falling apart and you just stand by them and just say, hey, you know what, this is what I learned, maybe this helps you, I think the whole narrative changes maybe.
True.
Right. So great, and wishing you much more success, much more reading, much more
Yes.
learning, much
Yes.
more understanding
Happiness.
life,
Yes.
much more being happy.
Yes. I think giving me your blessings for me to be more happy. I think that's my first thing I want in my life now. I think being happy and That's what.
I
should
think we
be
all are striving for that. Just that we don't know how to get it.
Yes.
And if you're able to follow your steps, I think we need to learn from you. So maybe in the next podcast, I will ask you what is happiness and how did you really attain it.
I know. That's a long, good conversation.
That's a long, good conversation itself.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Signing
Thank
off
you.
here then. Bye-bye.
Bye.